Can
all
I
right, come
clean
in.
your house for a plate of
Thank you.
food?
We were so
But when the
worried.
millionaire saw her, he froze. The rain poured down in heavy sheets as she stood outside the towering iron gates, her clothes soaked through, clinging to her thin frame. Her hands trembled, not just from the cold, but from hunger that had gnawed at her insides for 3 days straight. She had knocked on 12 doors that day, 12 rejections, 12 slammed doors in her face. But this house was different. It wasn't just big, it was a mansion, the kind you see in magazines, with perfectly manicured lawns, marble fountains, and security cameras at every corner. She knew she didn't belong here. She knew they'd probably call security the moment they saw her. But desperation has a way of silencing pride. She pressed the buzzer. Her condition, before, at 23 years old, she had already lived a lifetime of pain. Just 6 months ago, she had a home, a family, and dreams of becoming a teacher. Then everything collapsed. Her father died suddenly from a heart attack, leaving behind mountains of medical debt. Her mother, unable to cope with the loss and the financial ruin, fell into severe depression and passed away 2 months later. With no siblings, no relatives willing to take her in, and creditors seizing everything her parents owned, she found herself on the streets. Her college education, unfinished, her savings, gone to pay for funerals, her friends, distant, uncomfortable with her new reality. She had tried everything. She applied for jobs, but without a permanent address or a phone number, no one would hire her. Shelters were overcrowded, food banks had long lines and limited supplies. She had sold everything she owned, her laptop, her jewelry, even her mother's wedding ring, just to survive. Now, she had nothing, not even dignity, she thought bitterly, as she stood begging for work in exchange for food. The intercom crackled. "Yes? Who is it?" Her voice shook. I'm sorry to bother you. I don't want money. Can I clean your house for a plate of food? Please, I haven't eaten in days." Silence. She closed her eyes, waiting for the inevitable rejection. Instead, the gate buzzed open. His condition before, Alexander Rothschild didn't answer the door himself. His housekeeper did. But he was watching from the security feed in his office, a glass of whiskey in hand. At 38, he was one of the wealthiest men in the state, a self-made billionaire who had built his empire from nothing. Tech investments, real estate, venture capital, everything he touched turned to gold. But wealth hadn't brought him peace. His penthouse office was filled with awards, framed magazine covers with his face on them, and certificates of achievement. Yet every night he came home to an empty mansion. No wife, no children, no real friends, just business associates and people who wanted something from him. He had been poor once, dirt poor, raised by a single mother who worked 3 jobs just to keep a roof over their heads. He remembered the hunger, the shame, the feeling of being invisible to the world. He had clawed his way out of poverty through sheer will, intelligence, and a ruthless work ethic. But somewhere along the way, he had forgotten what it felt like. He had become the very people he once despised, cold, disconnected, isolated in a tower of wealth. When he saw her on the camera, drenched, desperate, but still standing tall despite everything, something inside him cracked. He saw himself, 20 years ago, standing outside a restaurant, begging for leftover food. He picked up the intercom, let her in, give her food. Let her dry off. "I'll be down in a minute." His housekeeper, Mrs. Chen, gave him a surprised look but nodded. The encounter, when he walked into the kitchen, she was sitting at the small breakfast table, wrapped in a blanket, her wet clothes dripping onto the floor. Mrs. Chen had given her soup and bread, which she was eating slowly, carefully, as if each bite was sacred. She looked up when he entered, and their eyes met. He froze. Not because she was beautiful, though even in her broken state there was something striking about her. It was her eyes. They held no self-pity, no bitterness, just quiet strength. The kind of strength that only comes from surviving the unsurvivable. "Thank you," she whispered, her voice hoarse. "I'll clean anything you need. I promise I'll work hard." He pulled out a chair and sat across from her. "What's your name?" She hesitated. Giving your name made it real, made you vulnerable. But something in his gaze felt safe. Lily, she said softly. Lily, he repeated. I'm Alexander, and you don't need to clean anything. Her eyes widened in panic. No, please, I don't want charity. I want to work. I can earn my keep. I just need... I'm not offering charity, he interrupted gently. I'm offering you a job, a real one. With a salary, a room, benefits, if you want it. She stared at him like he'd spoken a foreign language. Why? She finally asked. You don't even know me. He leaned back, studying her. Because I've been where you are, and because I believe in second chances. You made it through my gate, Lily. That took courage. Most people would have given up 12 doors ago. Tears welled in her eyes, but she blinked them back. What kind of job? Whatever you're willing to. Start with helping Mrs. Chen around the house. But I can see you're educated. Once you're back on your feet, we'll figure out something that fits your skills. The transformation. Focus on social status. The first few weeks were the hardest. Lily worked tirelessly, determined to prove she wasn't a charity case. She cleaned, organized, helped with meals, and never complained. But the whispers started almost immediately. Alexander's business associates would visit and see her. Who's that? They'd ask, their tones dripping with judgment. Your new... help? The implication was clear. A beautiful young woman living in a billionaire's mansion. The rumor spread like wildfire. Gold digger, opportunist, homewrecker, though Alexander wasn't even married. Lily heard the whispers. She saw the looks, the judgment from people who'd never spent a single night wondering where their next meal would come from. But Alexander shut it down. Every single time. She's an employee, and even if she weren't, it's none of your damn business, he'd say coldly. Slowly, Lily began to change, not because Alexander demanded it, but because she demanded it of herself. She started taking online courses at night. She read voraciously from Alexander's extensive library. She began to rediscover the woman she'd been before tragedy struck. Alexander watched her transformation with quiet pride. He started spending more time at home, finding excuses to have dinner with her, to ask her opinion on things. She challenged him in ways no one else dared. She called him out when he was being too ruthless in business. She reminded him what mattered. And somewhere along the way, friendship turned into something deeper. The confession. It was a year later when Alexander finally admitted the truth, to himself and to her. They were in the library discussing a book when he suddenly said, I'm in love with you, Lily. She looked up, startled. I know the world will judge us, he continued. I know people will say terrible things, that you're with me for money, that I'm taking advantage of you. I know all of it. And I don't care, because you make me feel alive again. You remind me who I was and who I want to be. Lily's eyes filled with tears. Alexander, I can't. People will destroy you. Your reputation is built on what I've accomplished, not who I love, he said firmly. The only question that matters is, do you love me? She did. God help her, she did. Yes, she whispered. The wedding, 6 months later, they married in a small, private ceremony. No media circus, no elaborate production. Just the people who truly mattered. The world judged, of course. Social media exploded. Articles were written. Billionaire marries former homeless woman, the headline screamed. But Alexander and Lily didn't care. They had found something more valuable than wealth or status, genuine love, built on mutual respect, shared struggle, and the understanding that sometimes the most valuable things in life come when you're brave enough to open the door, even when you have every reason to keep it closed.